Hello, my doves. We are doing something a little different today, obviously. Welcome to my dining room table, also known as the place where I do all of my messy crafts and just have a whole bunch of stuff laying around. I ordered one of those fancy paint by number kits online because I kept getting ads for them all over the place. And I got the one that takes, I think, like 24 hours and comes with 36 different paint colors. In the style, I think it was Gothic Rose or something like that. And it came with, this is the additional paint palette for the extra colors. This is the main paint palette with a lot of brushes. There's a mini of what it's going to look like when I'm all done painting in there as well, that I'll get to in a second. And then this is the actual canvas. It is canvas, it's not paper. They sent this smaller paper copy with it as well. I don't know why. I think it's so you can see where the numbers go after you've painted over them. Possibly, not entirely sure. But because it is rolled up so tightly, and I just unpacked it a minute ago, I did weigh it down with all my little thingies and distribute it across the table here. But since this is going to be water for cleaning off the paintbrushes, paper towel for wiping down the paintbrushes. But since this is going to be a bit of a different kind of video, I had to take my microphone off the stand and bring it over here to the dining table because the stand does not fit on the table because there's a lip on the edge of the table that it can't attach to because of the way it's shaped. So the microphone is just going to kind of be laying to the side over here while we talk and hang out and paint for a while. I am not even sure how long it's going to let me paint for before the video capture times out. So we'll just do the best that we can and talk a little bit, and you might catch me singing a little bit here and there because I never know what to do with myself when it's quiet. It's an ADHD thing. So I might start humming. We might just get a whole lot of paintbrush noises and, oh no, what did I do? We'll see. But let's have some fun with this. I am not particularly artistic. I always wanted to learn how to paint and do cool stuff like this, but I'm not particularly good at it. So I figured a paint by number kit for my very awfully talented mind could be a good starting point. But just fair warning, this could be a very, very light amount of talking in the video today. I'm definitely not going to get to those today. 2 packs of paintbrushes with 3 different sizes. This fell off of this one. Very, very fine, very delicate itty bitty brush. A little stiff. This one in the middle here is much wider for filling in the bigger areas. And then this third one is very long and thin like the other one, but much longer. I'm pretty sure in videos I've seen before you use this to like pull across long thin areas to give you some precision when you're filling them in. And this one's going to be for very, very fine detail work, like there's some very tiny areas right here that'll probably be perfect for this itty bitty baby brush. But we've got 3 brushes, and then the other package is 3 more of the same size. And then, like I said, I've got my water and my towel here to clean up with. This is the image for when it's finished. This is what it's going to look like. I thought this was super pretty, so I figured this would be my first one. Plus, even if I mess up a little bit, the color palette is fairly uniform. There's a lot of shades here, but for the most part, it's almost duochromatic. It's a lot of red, it's a lot of black, and there's some shade variations in there, but not a lot of other colors. So if I mess it up, it won't be the end of the world. Oh, these are to label the paint pots for if you don't keep them in the thing. That's clever. That's very clever. I like that. These are stickers. labeling your paint pots. Okay, now let's get into it. I'm gonna keep this right here. Keep the idea in my mind. I'll put the brushes on this side, out of reach and nice and safe. And then let's go for number 1. So it's right here, number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. Odd on top, even on bottom. So I think as I'm going, I'll just put the sticker on. That way if they somehow don't make it back into their hole, I still know which one I've got out. Open that up. Let's see. Got some number 1 here, 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 up there. Looks like it's going to be a lot of the clouds and the foggier parts. So I'm going to wet my brush a little bit, dab it off. And let's just have at it. Yes, I'm using what's on the lid. Waste not, want not. The one thing I never understood about these is, are you supposed to paint over the lines or just within the lines? That says 35. That is very small. Because I'm never sure. I'm never sure if I'm supposed to paint right to the line or try to paint over the line so that it all blends in at the end. Yeah, on the Paint Kit website, it was very, very interesting. They had a bunch. This is not sponsored, by the way. I literally saw this ad and I was like, you know what? I want to do paint by numbers. It sounds fun. And it's like -2 degrees outside, so why not? Shipping was pretty fast. But yeah, with paint by numbers, I am never sure if you're supposed to paint over the lines or not, because they don't come with instructions. It's just, oh, it's paint by numbers. Like, what kind of instructions could you need? You put the paint on the numbered area. But some of us have those hard probing questions in our brains. Like, hey, do I put the paint all the way up to here or do I stop here? Inquiring minds need to know. Because, I mean, if you go over the lines just a tiny bit, it's not going to be a problem because it'll help with the blending. But then when you're pulling your next paint colors, it might get more difficult to figure out where you're supposed to start and stop if you have multiple areas that bump up against each other. You know what I mean? And I may have started with the wrong brush too, because this is kind of a small area and I'm just sitting over here poking at it with the tip of my brush. Yeah, if this is amusing, we can definitely think about making this a series, because like I said, they sold the paintings on there by the amount of hours it would take you to complete, not by like difficulty scale, because they're like, oh, let's pay by numbers, it's all easy, it's just a matter of how much time and effort do you want to put into making this thing look nice, which is also how they determined how many colors they give you, is based on how many hours you want to put into it, because I think they add in the extra little color areas and more shading and stuff like that when you pick the higher amount of hours, because that would make sense, like you're putting more time into it if you're adding more colors, because that means you're adding more, usually midtones and shadows and stuff like that. Oh, this is a weird one. So that's a 2, that's a 1, that's a different number entirely, that's a 3. This whole thing I think is a 2, that's a 1, but that's a 2. But then what's this over here? Is that still 1? Because there's a line. See, this is why I have questions. I'm the person that asks questions of a paint by numbers kit, because I'm like, where is Where do we draw the lines here? There's an air bubble in the paint. Oh no. Those sections are extremely small. I'm going to switch brush. Oops. Before I tackle those. Oops. Too much. I don't know if this is a problem or not, but when I paint, I tend to rotate the brush to different angles to fill in different spaces. Like, I don't know if I'm supposed to rotate my wrist or if I'm doing that correctly. But I'm sitting over here and the brush is going 360 just to fill all these spaces in. I don't know, not a painter. I mostly did 3D art when I was in school. Like, I took 2D art, which was basically intro to drawing, and I was so bad at it. The teacher hated me. Mostly because I couldn't focus long enough to make any of the sketches she wanted us to do actually look good. Like, I couldn't work on the same thing for hours and hours and hours and hours at once. I couldn't. And I think that's a me thing. I don't know if that's an ADHD thing or if I just personally have issues. I could not visualize going from, like, building up the layers to the final product. And my art teacher kind of understood that. She was like, you're starting at the beginning and trying to get to the end by skipping over the middle. And you have to go in order. And I was like, I don't understand what that means though. Like, I had the hardest time with just like getting the steps of it to go from point A to point B. I had a lot of good ideas. And when we did like quick sketches and stuff like that, she liked some of my ideas. It was just a matter of actually executing them. But I love art. I just hung up my 2 prints I bought from the Beyond Van Gogh exhibit when it was touring. It actually came through here over the summer last year. So I went to that because I love art, and Van Gogh has some beautiful works. I bought the Almond Blossoms, which is one of his paintings that I absolutely adore. And then I also bought a print of, I can't remember what it's called, but it's got very dark background and roses and peonies almost looking in a vase, which is also pretty dark. And it's kind of muted a little bit, but not really. It's just, it's moody, but to me it's moody in like a comforting way. Like, the color palette is almost kind of similar to this with the reds and the blacks and stuff, but his had more pinks and like burgundies, not so much reds, but it's absolutely gorgeous. So I bought a print of that as well because it felt comforting to me. Like, it felt inviting in a very intimate and dark way. So I do love art, and I kind of understand art. Just, I was always better at 3D art, where the steps of creating it are literally in the process. So the whole visualizing the midpoint and everything, you can't mess that up, you know? Because it's literally like, you have to do it. Like, I took photography, loved that. That's a 2, but that's a 1. Oh my god, that's a tiny try to do that with this. That's a 1, 2, so I'm going to tag it. But I took a lot of 3D art classes. I took ceramics, pottery, not sculpture. The sculpture class had been cut right before that year, so I wasn't able to take it. And ceramics was a whole different kit and caboodle. Well, that would be a whole entire different story as far as why that didn't work out for me. But I took ceramics. It kind of went okay. I took photography, which I absolutely loved, because this was back in like 2008 was my first class, and 2009 going into 2010 is when I took photography too, because we were lucky enough to have 2 levels of photography class at my school. But yeah, we had to cut sculpture that same year. Budgets are fun. But we were doing analog photography. We didn't have full digital yet, so we were using film cameras, and we were not using Photoshop or anything like that. We were in the darkroom making prints and figuring out how to do double exposures by laying film on top of film and blasting out the images that way, and dodging and burning and doing all of these techniques. And the cool thing about it was, even if you did your prints with the same 2 negatives and the same 2 steps, and you grab the same 2 filters, there would be tiny differences every time. And it was kind of awesome. And we did tinting on the final prints, so you could do sepia tone, or you could do this beautiful blue tone that made your photographs look kind of ghostly. And no surprise, me being me, I ended up using that blue tinted one quite a bit. I think I had 1 photograph in the senior showcase that year, which was awesome. Most of the seniors got at least 1 piece in the showcase, as long as they found something to submit that they liked. But it was still kind of cool just to have it up and have your name on there and have your friends see it. Because as seniors, we all had like half a free period at some point to go see the senior art show. And since I was never super artistic, it was like, oh my god, guys, I actually did something. Look, I made something. And it's considered art. So yeah, loved photography and jewelry making class. Those were my 2 favorite. The intro to 3D art was also super cool. You had to take that before you could take any of the other ones. And we learned stuff in there that we didn't get to practice again because we didn't have any other 3D art classes that would go with it. Like, we did an origami lesson, of course, because that's a great example of 3D art, and it really builds your spatial awareness and stuff. So that was really fun. And we did mosaics. We did like big round garden tiles. Stepping stones, that's what they're called. Words, I know words, I promise. But we made stepping stones. And we designed and cut the glass based on how we wanted it to fit. And it was basically no rules. If you can make the glass do what you want it to do, go ahead. And I chose to do a kind of convoluted, honestly, sun and moon design, where it was like half sun, half moon. But the way I had them connect in the middle made absolutely no sense for the way that I shaped everything. My grandparents still have my mosaic, but cutting the glass into a half circle was a pain in the butt. And I did it for multiple pieces because, again, the way I had shaped everything was just absolutely ridiculous. And then doing the long, thin pieces for my multi-pointed stars was also rough. Because cutting glass on a curve, it does not want to cut on a curve. Glass wants to break in a clean line. So you can score the heck out of it to make it cut in a circle. But for high schoolers, it's not easy. But that was a super cool project. And that's one of those things where it's like you do it and you're like, oh my god, I would love to do this again. But just like the supplies and everything are kind of expensive. And where do you have the space? And it's dangerous because it's glass. So I never got to do it again except for that one class, which is kind of a bummer, but it was such a cool learning experience. Sorry, I am shoving my whole head into the dang frame. Mostly because I can't see worth a darn. I probably definitely need glasses, but I am lazy and don't like going to the doctor, and the eye doctor counts as a doctor, and that's also just a lot of money I don't want to spend right now because I feel like my vision is mostly okay. It's just for stuff like this. I don't even like need to lean in to see. I can see it. It just feels like I can see it better when I'm leaning in like that, which is probably not good, and not good for my back either, but oh well. Bad habits. Let's see what else is new right now. I told you the silence was probably going to be the part that would drive me crazy the most. Because normally if I'm doing something like this, I would have music playing or a TV show playing in the background or something. But obviously since I'm filming, I can't do that because A, that would just ruin my sound. You would hear that and nothing else. Even though I keep the volume turned down pretty low because I don't need it to be loud to hear it. But also, you know, copyright and stuff like that. They would take my video down in a heartbeat if I just had the TV playing in the background right now. Because they just added the sequel, Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again, on Netflix. So of course I had to watch that last night, because that is one of my favorite movies. Both of them are, not just the second one. It's kind of a family tradition thing with me and my grandma. We watch those movies together, and it's a good time, because she grew up in the 50s and 60s and the early 70s. She was a huge ABBA fan. And actually, when she lived in Germany, she worked in a disco briefly that was by the army base, and that was how she met my grandfather. Yes, we're turning this into an episode How I Met Your Mother. But yeah, Grandma worked at the disco, and she had the go-go boots, and she styled her hair all big, and she loved ABBA music. And she also, because we watch a lot of historical romances together, so like the old school Pride and Prejudice, the BBC TV series versions, she loves Colin Firth as an actor. So when we found out that Mamma Mia was coming out, and it had all ABBA music in it, and it had her favorite actor Colin Firth in it, we went to go see it together right away. And we saw the first one so many times in theaters. Oh my god. Granted, this was a long time ago, so movie theaters in general were quite a bit cheaper. But we also had this discount place in town that would show movies like 6 to 8 weeks after they got off the release run. So basically when regular theaters would drop them, they would pick them up again and do a second run for like 6 to 8 weeks. And the tickets would just be discounted. They would be cheap. And the concessions were kind of cheap. And oh my god, when we were kids, we loved that place because they would do like kids movies for $1. And what do you do during the summer with like tweens that aren't old enough to go hang out at the mall all summer and can't get a job but are also bored sitting at home all day? You give them $6-7, send them to the movies. They're watching 2-3 movies. They're full of popcorn and candy. They're having a great day. Usually at least one parent would stay with us to make sure we didn't get into trouble. It worked. That place doesn't exist anymore. It got taken out by inflation. You know how it is. But it was super cool. Everyone in town loved that place. And This city isn't big, but it's not small. Like, the population and everything is surprisingly large considering that we're in the middle of nowhere. At least it feels like the middle of nowhere. It takes hours to get to Chicago from here. But are there any more ones up here that are teeny tiny? That's a big one. That's a big one, but it's got a lot of small areas. Yeah, we've got some more small spaces up here today. But yeah, when the city is the size that it is and has the amount of people it does, but it still has that small town vibe almost. Like, everyone in the city knew about that place, and it was like a local landmark in a way. But now it got taken over by freaking $1,200 one-bedroom apartments because it's in the nice side of town. I don't know if they're actually $1,200, but they are very expensive. Very swanky apartments built right there. Then there's like an Outback Steakhouse that was there when the movie theater was still operating. Somehow that place is still open. Let's see, there's some big areas for one right here. And there was another one right around here. Oh no, this is all even up to here. Oh, and that's a one. And then there's a smaller one right here. Honestly, I thought this would work better because I thought there'd be more actual, like, painty, brushy, fun, artsy sounds. But this paint's pretty thick. It's got some thickness to it. So it's not really making any noises. Oh, I definitely would have missed that one. Yeah, I'm one of those people that has a super hard time sitting in silence. So this is weird for me. This is very weird. Now that it's completely silent, since we have that freeze warning, I've got the taps dripping, so I can hear the water dripping right now from my kitchen faucet. I think the high for the next couple of days until like Wednesday is only like 17. We got cold fast because it was in the 30s and 40s last week. Like, it was perfectly fine, then all of a sudden, woof, done for. Those numbers look weird. I can't tell if it's a 13 and a 19 or what, but they look very squished. Oh yeah, question. Tell me in the comments. Do you have tomorrow off work? because it's Martin Luther King Day and it's a holiday, because we don't. Like, one of our clients is closing and that's it. Everything else is staying open. So I have to work tomorrow. But apparently, some people are off tomorrow. I'm just like, must be nice. Oh, there's one all the way down here. And it's incredibly small. You know it's quiet when you can hear your neighbor's microwave turn on. Holy cow. Pulling my own hair. You have a candle collar or whatever on this one. It's supposed to spin when it gets warm. Like when the candle's lit. But these tiny candles, they don't like to burn very well, so it doesn't usually work out for me. It's kind of a bummer. Because it's a cool little thing. It's got ravens on it. I just saw another one and it was decently sized. Oh, there it is. So tell me, what kind of creative things have you been getting up to lately? Gotta take some time to do creative things every once in a while. It's good for you. Helps to activate certain parts of the brain and works on your spatial reasoning and logic and all this other stuff. And it just creates happy chemicals. Dopamine, serotonin. One of those, both of those, maybe, I don't know. But creative outlets are good for that kind of thing. Okay, I think I'm good on the tiny ones. I'll give the brushes a proper wash out later. I just want to get them. You know, you want to get most of the paint out before it starts drying when you're doing something like this, and then you can go back and give it a better wash once you've put it all away. Let's see, I circled a couple there and there. still good. We're still good. So I keep checking the timer just because I never know how long it's actually going to let me record for, because my phone's storage space is not... It's a little encumbered right now. So it will put a cap on how long it wants to record for. But it usually, sometimes it does, but usually does not tell me before I start recording how long it's going to last, because it's based on the storage space mostly, but also the battery and stuff. And I did fully charge the battery before I started, but I don't know, I should probably transition to using a real camera to record. And then I wouldn't even know where to start with picking out a good camera that isn't like $1,000. There are some really small spots on this one that I'm going to go back and do with the tiny brush. I spoke too soon when I said the tiny brush wasn't going to be needed anymore. How could I? Yeah, there's some very narrow spots up here I'm going to want to use that for. I don't know if you can see it, but there's one right here that goes all the way down and it's super skinny. And there's this little point right here that hangs out. So yeah, I'm gonna get back out tiny brush for those spots. As far as New Year's resolutions, I usually don't set a whole lot of New Year's resolutions. I tend to go with the flow. Again, probably an ADHD thing, but New Year's resolutions have never worked for me anyway. But also, why should change be on a time limit? Like, there's nothing about the first day of the year that makes it super special to where you can only commit to changing your life right then and there. For some people it might help, but I think for most of us we're always changing. So there's no point in putting a special onus on that one day. And plus, I mean, I do stuff every new moon, full moon, depending on the phases. We change things constantly. We ebb and flow like that cycle. I do have some ideas for some new spell work, as far as, you know, intentions and kind of just manifesting positive energy and will for the year ahead. So you may get a new spell sooner than you think. But it's definitely not going to be New Year rainy kind of spell. Mostly because that window's already passed. That ship has sailed. Thought my cat was right next to me. That was weird. Anyway. No, she's sleeping on the couch right now. I could have swore I saw something. So tell me, what else has been going on with you lately? Do you like the weather that we're having? Yeah, I am obviously not a big fan of the cold. It makes my bones hurt. I'm getting a little gloopy. Anything fun coming up for you soon? Yeah, that should be exciting. Yeah, I know, we made it through the holidays. I mean, there's still Valentine's Day coming up, but that's not as much pressure. Unless you have a partner who's really, really big on gifts being their love language. Then there might be a little bit of pressure, but you never know. Just act with intention, and you'll be okay. Because really, that's what it comes down to, right? Intention. But intention doesn't mean, well, I bought you something. That means I have intention. It's a little bit deeper than that. It means listening to what they actually want. And not just what you think they might like. Because people do tend to give hints for that kind of stuff, even if they don't mean to. But if you pay attention to your partner on a regular basis, you should definitely be fine. Do you ever get gift-giving anxiety? It's kind of like a specific thing. I don't know if that's a real term or if it's just like me being goofy. But every year around the holidays, I will try to go present shopping for specific people. Be like, okay, today I want to get this person and this person crossed off my list. And I will get to the store and then just like freeze up. And I'm just sitting there like, oh my god, what do they like? What do they need? Like, I just start panicking. And I'm like trying to think back to what kind of stuff they like. And I'm like, oh my god, I can't name one thing that they're interested in. It's like I've never met this person a day in my life. And I'm laughing, but honestly, it's kind of scary how that just like takes over. But then any other time of year, I can be shopping somewhere or looking for something online or doing something completely unrelated and come across something or like see an ad for something and just be like, oh my god, this is so cute. They would love that. Add to cart. I'll save it for their birthday. Because with birthdays, they happen all over the place. Different times of year. You can buy stuff early, save it. It works. But then come like specifically holiday shopping. It's like I never met you. I can't do it. It's so weird. Do you feel that way? Does that ever happen to anyone else? Just me? Like, I'd have a better time freaking bailing you out of jail than I would trying to buy you a Christmas present. And I don't know if it's a specific kind of anxiety or what it is, but I just... it just takes control. One more section mark number 1. Well, there's a lot of small areas in that one too. I don't want to flood them. Okay. Double check, triple check. switch back to the tiny brush. Wash, wash, wash. Get all that paint out. Give it some dabs, dry it off. Re-wet the tiny brush. Give that some swirls. And then we'll go in for that detail work I skipped earlier. That point right there. On that edge. Very skinny edge right here. Oh gosh. I'm so sorry. I don't know where that sneeze came from. Tried to hold it in. My apologies. I don't know why, but I randomly get that bit from Aristocats stuck in my head. Where, Madame is dancing with George, the, solicitor, lawyer, estate manager, whatever the heck he is. And the cats are playing on the record player. I get that bit stuck in my head every once in a while. It's kind of weird. Especially when I'm doing tasks like this where I'm just like doing delicate stuff. Aristocats is one of those Disney classics that held up fairly well over time. I mean, the entire plot line is weird, but in a cute way. And it's pretty unproblematic because it's just cats and geese and a weird butler. Although I heard someone say at one point that the other cats that they turn to for help, O'Malley's friends, are all supposed to be allegories for World War I combatants and supposed to represent like everyone coming together and not choosing sides anymore with the war and everything. And I was just like, if that's the message you wanted kids to understand, you should have made it a little bit more clear. Because I watched that movie so many times as a kid till now and never once made that connection. So, I don't know if they just made it that subtle that none of us were gonna understand it, or if I'm just really dense. Because I did catch on to the fact that the alley cats had different accents and stuff like that. But being an avid cat lover, I knew like Siamese cats originated in China, and that the one big cat was a Russian blue, and so of course he's gonna have a Russian accent. Like, I could tell that the cats were modeled off of specific breeds. So I thought the accents were just because they were supposed to be from their country of origin. And I still hold to that. I'm pretty sure that's actually all it is. That the cats were just talking that way because they were from different countries. But what do I know? I mean, I don't work for Disney. I don't know nothing. Oh shoot, I missed a whole spot right here. I got it halfway painted and then just moved on to something else. What is wrong with me? Lots of things. That's not the point. But yeah, and of course, everything that people post online is not necessarily true. So that's probably like super false and biased and just someone reading too far into things because they just took 6 psych classes and that's all they can think about. I don't know. It's probably complete conjecture. But I don't know. Maybe they're onto something and I'm blind to that kind of like subliminal messaging. Which probably makes me a perfect target for it. Because I'm just sitting over here like, oh yeah, that one speaks like that because they're from that country. And that one has that accent because they're from that country. Good job, Disney. You made all the cats have the correct accents for the regions that they come from. Like, I thought they were just over here being geographically accurate. Because if the cats would have all sounded the same, but we're all different species, I think we would have side-eyed them and be like, well, that cat's a second-generation immigrant and doesn't have an accent. Like, what? It's like kids pick up on dumb things. Being that when I was a kid, for a few years, I thought I would make a great veterinarian. I would read dumb things like books about cats and learn about different species and all this other stuff. Not species, but like breeds. Actually, species too. Because I would study wild cats' behavior and house cats, because house cats are cute and wild cats are awesome. So I that was a weird tangent to go on, but yeah, that was a thing. That I saw on the internet last week. And now you've heard it, and now you might find it. It was probably a TikTok that someone shared on Instagram Reels or Facebook Reels or whatever, because I don't have TikTok. But yeah, I saw it, and now I told you about it. And because they're always listening to what we're talking about, you're probably going to get that reel now at some point, just out of the blue. So I apologize, and you get to go down the rabbit hole with me. That's what we're doing today. Oh my god, I missed this whole other spot up here. No. Oof. It does have a lot of weird crevices and nooks and crannies. My brush is getting kind of gooky because I used it to kind of smush around some of the crusty edges on here. all of number 1. Seal that back on, tuck that back in. Whew. Quick tea break. Get my cute little fox mug today. Okay. And looking at it now, it feels like I've barely done anything. Gosh, I had to pick the one with extra colors, didn't I? I did. That is 100% something that I would do, thinking that it wouldn't be that bad, and then look at it and go, holy cow, this is actually a lot of work. Oh, and there's 2 everywhere. There's 2 down in the roses, down at the bottom here. There's 2 all over the place up here at the top. Pardon me if you were able to hear that. I'm sorry. Alright, well, this is jar number 2. Let's see how much we can get through. Sticker number 2 on jar number 2. It's a slightly different color. The thing is, when you're doing these paint by number sets, usually you're getting ones that are similar colors, but they just kind of go down a spectrum at the beginning. Make sure the brush is cleaned out. Do not drink the paint water. And that is a joke between me and one of my other artist friends that does a lot more painting and stuff than I do. Wow, yeah, these are super similar. I'm hoping it dries like darker or something, because this is a really similar color. Let me start down here toward the bottom on some of the spaces that are farther away, just to see if I can get a better feel for the color differences. Maybe not the best plan because these are delicate areas. Tiny brush to the rescue. tell if I'm doing Oompa Loompa from Willy Wonka or the clock ticking alligator from Peter Pan right now. Somewhere in the middle. Because if you think about it, they actually do sound very similar. These roses are going to be very intense. There's a lot of very, very small areas in these roses. least a couple more spots on this one where there's some twos. Gosh, there's still more. Getting a little goopy again. There we go. That's much better. Really small space right here, and I didn't want to put anything super thick and clumpy on there because I have no room really to spread it out. Isn't that one? This one down here. 2. Just 2? Okay, looks like this little rose only has 2 highlight spots for number 2. That's one of the many things I don't like about winter. You get such a dry throat so easily. You get all sore and scratchy and stuff. It's no bueno. Not my cup of tea. a 7, not a 2. No, I think we're good on that one too. Yeah, these ones down here in the picture, they're a little darker, less highlights, as you can see right here. So it's not that surprising that there's less as we go down. We are still rolling. This big one has a lot more 2 spots. I think it has a lot more highlights on it. So many small details on here. This is going to be really nice when it's finished, I can tell you that for sure. As long as I don't mess it up. I'm gonna have to come back here and fix that up. Because I didn't even think about this spot in the middle where it's got the reflections. That real big watery spot right there. I didn't even think about that. Shoot. That's gonna be fun to have to go back and cover. There's a few ones in here. Yeah, there's several ones in this area. There's also quite a few threes in this area. Okay, well that's going to be exciting to go through. Let's check this big rose down here for any twos. There's one. There's a few in the middle here. Sorry, no idea where that one came from. Hanging out with me is basically like hanging out with the jukebox, yes. That is it for this one, just 4 spots total. Some very subtle highlights. Oh wait, no, 5, I missed one. Tiniest little sliver right here. There's that. Almost missed that one. Would not have been good. Get a little goopy again. There we go. Lovely. Nice and cleaned off. There's a few twos in here. I think I've got it narrowed down to just the big two areas on the top. Mostly big. Sliver right there is a one as well. I couldn't see it earlier. Wow, that is small. Yikes, hopefully they dry down to different shades because they look so identical right now. Could also be my lighting. It's not exactly super, super bright in here. And subtlety is the name of the game sometimes. Whew. Teeny tiny dots. They're so small. Wow, there's a lot of detail in this. And there's another 1, 2, like 3 spots I missed with the number 1. Well, I think, are the giant number 2 spots that I have left going on here. And let's do another small one. There we go. Now, I think I'm going to call it there for today. I got a fair amount done considering I only started with number 1 and number 2. And now that they are drying, I can kind of see a little bit of a color shift between them. The 1 is just a bit lighter and the 2 is drying down a bit darker, so that is going to give us some great contrast once the piece is fully put together. Whew. But yeah, I think I'm going to call it there. My back is getting a little sore. Not as young as it used to be. So yeah, let me know if you want this to be a regular series where we just sit and paint and chat and you hear me hum along and click along to songs that are stuck in my head and make weird mouth sounds. Again, sorry there's no actual like good brush sounds happening with this. I thought there would be, but I obviously know nothing about painting, so my bad. But yeah, I hope you have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for joining me. I love you all, and I will see you soon.